Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 3OT. It's been like, I don't know, 9 months since we did one of these. But the Giants are miserably bad. It's a good season and it's a fun draft. So why not do a mock draft? As always, I'm here with Sam. Sam, say hello.
Hello.
There you go. We're gonna be doing the first round as it always is. Sam, you want odds or evens?
I'll take evens. Actually, no, I'll take odds.
All right, you got odds. I'm gonna take both Giants picks. You can take the Browns pick. How about that?
Works for me.
Sounds good. All right, let's get it started. First overall pick. That's you. The Lions are bad, believe it or not.
Yes, they are. They are not good in the slightest, and they need a lot of help. But
That they do.
it's pretty. My pick for this is pretty clear. I'm going with Kayvon Thibodeau.
Wow. I
Just
guess it's fair that you just physically could not take a Michigan guy at one.
I can't, but also I think Thibodeau's better. I think that he has a lot better potential as well. I think Hutchinson had some good games, and that's kind of all. Whereas Thibodeau's been consistently good, by far the best player on his team right now.
Isn't that saying more about Oregon than it is about Thibodeau, though?
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
All right. Well, how does he fit in? How does he fit in for the Lions, who defensively have very little to look forward to?
Yeah, well, I mean, fits in like a glove. Basically, they need all the help they can get on defense. They have some decent offensive weapons, all things considered, but the defense especially has just been the bane of their existence this season. There's a reason why they've only won one game, and a big part of that is just because their defense just can't stop the ball at all. So they, big thing that they need to work on that is the edge presence, and that's why I think Thibodeau would be a great pick for them.
Yeah. I mean, we can start with on the defensive side of the ball, they got Levi Onwuzurike, who I think was a second or third round pick last year, who's flashed at times really decent defensive tackle. They got I think Trey Flowers is still there. They cut Jamie Collins halfway through the year, so he's gone. Aquara is coming back from an ACL surgery next year, probably. And then other than that, I mean, Jeff Okuda has been nothing if not disappointing. I remember telling you that I thought he was incredibly overrated. I actually had CJ Henderson as my number one corner, and he got traded a year and a half into his rookie deal. So guess neither were great. But I
Yeah,
remember having this conversation with you, Sam. You're an Ohio State fan. I just remember saying, hey, there's something not so great about Akuda. Great footwork, but from that point on, I don't really see it.
yeah, he definitely, kind of dropped the ball and just, I mean, pun unintended, but he just kind of disappeared completely. He was the third overall pick a couple years ago. Was it last year? The year before that, it was a third overall pick. He just
Yeah, it
ever
was
since
it was
then.
2 years ago. It was the Tua Herbert draft.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about him, and then just kind of fizzled out, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean, is he even the best corner on the Lions?
Probably not. I mean, one could argue that there isn't a good corner on the Lions.
That's also very true. But what's his name? Oruwariye? Is that his name? I think, yeah, Oruwariye has had a decent enough year at corner for me to think he's a good, CB2 or three. But
Yeah,
at the first overall pick, it's Thibodeau or it's Hutchinson. And if you want to take Thibodeau, I don't blame you. I'm more of a Hutchinson guy. I think Thibodeau has probably the higher upside, but I question if he'll get there. Whereas Hutchinson, I think, is just like it's crazy to say. I said about Jalen Phillips how I thought Jalen Phillips could be, another somewhere between Watt and Bosa. I think Hutchinson is just another Bosa.
yeah,
I really have that high of an opinion of him. And I mean, I'm trying to figure out if I should take him at 2. I probably should. I just think that protecting Trevor Lawrence at this point is such a big deal that I think you can not take Hutchinson. And I know Efeatu Melifanu for NC State has been fantastic. Huge riser, was supposed to be like a second round pick before the year and moved from guard to tackle. And he's been fantastic there. But I'm going to go Evan Neal here. I think it's so goddamn important to protect Trevor Lawrence, especially with this nightmare of a year he's having. No one on that offensive line is even decent. I mean, they're trying to build something with the run game for next year. I'm not sure if James Robinson is still going to be there, considering, I mean, Urban Meyer, I don't even think he's going to be there next year, but he's not doing good things with James Robinson. He could be out of there. And then you look at Etienne, they're really trying to be a hybrid run pass team. They're trying to get Lawrence to do good shit. And I think as great, and I mean, Hutchinson is fucking great. As great as he is, you have such a huge investment on Trevor Lawrence last year that I think you have to take some sort of tackle over Hutchinson. And I think Neal is still better than Melifonwu. Or sorry, than Ika Mkwanu.
Yeah, I think I do agree with this pick. I think it's the right call, especially just position wise. I don't think you could really go with anything else. Just quarterback is the number one most important person on the football team.
It
So
does also kind of hurt me that because I'm a big best player available guy. Which is why, I don't need to get into this, but why I hated the Daniel Jones pick so much, why I hated, Kadarius Toney this year, why I hated DeAndre Baker 2 years ago, hell, even Dexter Lawrence, why I've hated Saquon Barkley. Every single first round decision that Dave Gettleman has made, it's why I've hated it, because I'm a big best player available guy, which is, I should be taking Hutchinson, but does an unlocked Trevor Lawrence plus, Evan Neal, that's more valuable to me than Aiden Hutchinson, especially considering I think the Jags. I was a oh my god, what's his goddamn name? The LSU outside linebacker they took in the first round last year.
I can't remember. No, who you're talking about. I can't remember his name.
Oh my god. He was a project player. I remember that. But they have him and they have Josh Allen. And I think you always want to add more. There's never too many good edge rushers. And Hutchinson can play in a hybrid defensive tackle, defensive end role. He's that good. But it just comes down to the fact that I can't pass on a tackle if I'm the Jaguars looking for a real difference maker and helping Trevor Lawrence out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's Dylan Moses is his name.
No, it's not.
Yeah, Dylan
That might
Moses.
be the inside linebacker, but Kalavon Chason, that's who I'm thinking of.
Oh, they draft. Oh, I guess he was undrafted from LSU. That's who Dylan
That's who
Moses
Dylan
is.
Moses is, yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, you got the third pick. Number one need is quarterback, but no way in hell is any of them going this high.
Yeah, Pickett is. I think Pickett is probably the best. Him
See,
and
I still
Corral
have
I
Matt
like.
Corral QB1, so
Yeah, they're neck and neck for me. But
yeah.
it's they definitely need a quarterback. Even beyond what the website says, it's
Yeah.
just anyone
I
that
think
knows the
Davis
game of
Mills is
football.
just the next Kerry Kittles. So
Yeah, there's just they
or
have a
Kerry
lot of
Collins. Whoa, Kerry Kittles is a basketball player.
options for what they
Yeah.
need because they need a lot. But I think best as you said, the best player in the draft. You got to go Hutchinson.
There you
It's
go.
they no longer have J.J. Watt after last season, and they need as much defensive presence as possible as well.
Yeah.
And just like Detroit, there's some stuff on the offensive side. Of course, there's less offensive weapons on Houston than there are in Detroit, but there's still, their defense is just as abysmal. They
Yeah.
really need to whip that into shape. And they have their rookie quarterback started for the first time this past week, and it's not looking great, but it's not looking terrible. Looking
No,
a little better.
Davis Mills is not good.
Yeah,
I mean, he's fine,
yeah, for what they
but
have right now, he's fine. He's better than
yeah,
Tyrod Taylor, I think. But
yeah,
it's but that I mean, they have plenty of picks later in the draft. They'll be able to pick up another.
yeah. And I mean, the question is, what do they get back for Deshaun Watson?
Right,
And
exactly.
that
He's
could be another first.
Yeah, I mean, Deshaun Watson will never play a game for Houston again.
Yeah,
Uh, it's still up in the air if he'll ever play a game for any team again. But
yeah,
it's looking more likely that he's going to come back sooner rather than later, and that's just going to increase the draft stock for him as well. Just
yeah.
players
And I
not
mean,
playing for a long period of time just kills their potential.
the Texans have a good amount of players that on the defensive end that aren't bad, especially on the defensive line. Like
Yeah,
Ross Blacklock has impressed me. I know he's a third defensive tackle, doesn't play a ton, has impressed me a lot. Kamu Grugier Hill, who's their middle linebacker, he's awesome. He really is. He's the best player on that defense by a wide margin, but he's actually a good player. Justin Reed, is Justin Reed. He's having a decent year. And then on the offensive line, like you could think about taking a tackle or an O lineman of some sort, but I don't think they've given up on Titus Howard yet. Laramie Tunsil is coming back next year. Um, Justin Britt has had moments, and you can't. Once you get the O line in place, what are you going to do at quarterback?
right.
And I mean, you can build a great defense and still and find a quarterback in a different way, or you can spend money on a good tackle or a decent tackle or a decent guard, and they'd be trying to find a right tackle and a right guard, and I just don't think you can draft them that high.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I love Hutchinson, and I obviously love the pick at 3. It's tremendous value. Um, onto the Jets, which is weird because I'm going to be making 3 straight picks now. Um, the Jets, damn. Um, I know Derek Stingley is staring at me, but Derek Stingley, he was. Remember his rookie year,
yeah,
or not rookie, his freshman year? It
yep.
was ridiculous. He was arguably like the third best player on that LSU team that won a national championship as a true freshman.
Yeah,
That doesn't happen often. And he has not been nearly as good he was a COVID opt out, I think. Then this past year he wasn't great. Or he was good, but he wasn't like obscenely good like he was his rookie year.
yeah. LSU
And there
also
were
just wasn't good this year either.
yeah. There were times for someone like Andrew Booth or Andrew Booth is the name. Andrew Booth or even Ahmad Gardner, who is really good this year, Juice Gardner, to take over that CB1 slot. But at this point, I'm not sold on Derek Stingley being that guy. And I mean, this is going to sound ridiculous. Mekhi Becton, stud. Elijah Vera Tucker, stud. Their offensive line is in a good place. Morgan Moses on the right tackle has been decent. I'm staring at Ika Makwanu and thinking, you need to slow things down for Zach Wilson. How much could it help to just have a fantastic offensive line for him?
Yeah.
I'm also obviously thinking Derek Stingley. I'm also kind of looking at Kyle Hamilton. I know no tackle has gone top 5 since Eric Berry. Kyle Hamilton is fantastic, and Marcus May is going to be out of there. So I'm thinking a lot right now. I think I am still probably going to go Derek Stingley here. What I will say is I'm not going George Karlaftis. I'm not very high on George Karlaftis. I know the Jets need an edge. Karlaftis to me is a pure power rusher. Not great as a Jesus, brain, work with me here. Not really able to do well. Say do much is too much too much to say there. He's not. I like my edge rushers to be pass rushers that have moves and counter moves, technicians. Karloftis has been winning with just pure force, and I question if that will continue. I'm not super high on Karloftis. Would I take him in the 7 to 10 range? Yeah. I actually think that that Ojabo is better. I think Ojabo is my edge 3. Unless you consider DeMarvin Leal to be an edge rusher, in which case I'd take him. But I can't take Karloftis. I'm not going to take Leal because their interior defensive line is already built. I'm going Derek Stingley. All of that just to settle on the chalk answer, but
Yeah, I respect it. I think it's the right call. They obviously need defense, and I think it's sort of a toss up between that, filling out that defense and that offensive line, like you said. But I would have made a similar call position wise, just filling that out and actually having something for offenses to fear when they go to New York, which is kind of rare right now.
yeah, I think their defense is decent. Quincy Williams, brother of Quinnen Williams, or brother or cousin, has been really good. Quinnen Williams has been really good. Other than that, it's a little sad.
Yeah.
I think I liked Ashton Davis before the draft 2 years ago. They took him at the start of the third with the pick they got for Leonard Williams. I haven't seen a ton from him. I haven't watched a lot of Jets games, to be fair, but I think they have something there. That's about all I can say.
Yeah.
The Jets, I really had high hopes for them this year. I was someone who still said Justin Fields over Zach Wilson. I'm not sure Justin Fields helps them that much more than Zach Wilson has, but I think on offense they have good players. They have decent offensive line, and I think Michael Carter. I loved both of the UNC running backs last year. If you remember, Javonte Williams was my number one running back. Looks really stupid now with Najee Harris being so goddamn good. But Javonte Williams has also been fantastic. So I think the Jets have a good team. It really comes down to Zach Wilson. And while you can't do anything to change that side of the ball dramatically, you might as well just start building out that defense that is not good.
Yeah.
All right. The Giants cause me so much pain. It's insane. It really is. We are, without a doubt, in my mind, the worst team of the last 5 years. We are, without a doubt, in my mind, the worst drafting team of the last 5 years. I can't think of us. We have one good player that we've drafted in the first, or maybe two good players that we've drafted in the first 2 rounds of the last 5 years, and that is Andrew Thomas, who is, after a disastrous rookie year, looking like a very good tackle. And we have Xavier McKinney, who is a safety, and the third safety on the team, and is only playing well now because Jabril Peppers tore his ACL. So he's out, and he keeps posting thinly veiled shots at Joe Judge or Kenny Galladay or whoever it is. So he probably won't be back because he wants to win. So that's not good. Logan Ryan is getting hella old. This team paid tons of money, I think $13 million a year, to Adoree Jackson to be a top 15 to 20 level corner. He's just been a decent starter. So that's an overpay. Blake Martinez tore his ACL. He's also not that great. He's a decent player. He's a really good leader. But linebackers in play. There's honestly no position that's not in play outside of wide receiver where they invested in all the wrong places. In Kenny Galladay, who I said was washed as hell, people were complaining about the Giants receivers not getting any separation and then proceeded to, parade around after the Giants signed the player that is the worst separator since the stat has been tracked. Sterling Shepard is going to be a cap casualty because he can't stay fucking healthy. Kadarius Toney has had 2 decent games, and outside of that has either been hurt or a fucking head case all season. Like, what do you look at? Daniel Jones. Oh my God, Daniel Jones. This was supposed to be the 3rd year breakout. I would have been very happy with Justin Fields last year, but Daniel Jones was going to break out in a big way, just like Josh Allen. Ooh boy. Now we're looking at Daniel Jones. He has a major structural neck issue. He's been out for the past 3 games. He hasn't had a good season before that point. He's just bad, and we can't move off him because there's so many bigger needs for this team to the point that I don't think you can draft a quarterback at either of these 2 spots. I think I would. I think if any of Malik Willis or what's his name, Carson Strong or Sam Howell makes it to the 2nd round, you immediately take him and immediately start him. But I don't know where to go from here for the Giants. What I am probably going to do is I'm going to try to take the best defensive player available and the best player on the offensive line available. There's no edge I'd want to take right now. So I'm going to start it off by taking Ika Ekwonu. He's, former guard, moved to tackle this year. You can move him to right tackle to replace the disastrous signing of Nate Solder or the disastrous 3rd-round pick of Matt Pert, who can't even start over Solder. Solder might just be the worst offensive lineman in the league, and Pert can't even start over him. It's ridiculous. They also don't have anyone at guard after they cut Kevin Zeitler, who has not allowed a pressure or a sack for the Ravens this year. I mean, what type of mismanagement does this team have? I would clean house. I would fire Gettleman. I would fire Judge. I would probably trade Daniel Jones and sign, like, I don't know, Tyrod Taylor can be the Giants starter for next year. That'll work, I guess. It's ridiculous, but Ika Ekwonu can slot in at either guard spot or at right tackle if you really want him to. That fills your offensive line need. I mean, what's the name of the center again? Oh, it's not Kenyon Green. Get that out of here. The center, where Tyler Linderbaum. He's really good. I'm not taking a center with a top 5 pick. I'm not taking a center with a top 6 pick either. Don't have to worry about that. I don't know if there's a quarterback you can take at this point. I have Matt Corral QB1. I don't know if I would take Matt Corral here. I would probably trade down if I were here. You get your offensive lineman, trade down, get some more picks. You can get the quarterback. You can get whatever. I think DeMarvin Leal would be great for this team. I don't know what I think. Dexter Lawrence is a pure, nose tackle, run stopping nose tackle. If you want to go 3 defensive tackles, try to do a 5-2. That could work. You don't have the linebacker depth to do that, but you can try it. I think DeMarvin Leal would be great for this team. I think he's really just the next Frank Clark. He's a great pass rusher. He stops the run at a decent level, which is something Frank Clark hasn't done until this year. And then he's the ultimate competitor. I love DeMarvin Leal. He's one of the few people that have actually had the time to scout fully at this point. I fucking love DeMarvin Leal. I think I'm going to take Kyle Hamilton at 6 because, Jabril Peppers is gone. Logan Ryan could be a cap casualty. And I think Xavier McKinney is more of a true box safety. And Kyle Hamilton may just be the 3rd best defensive player in this class, just behind Thibodeau and Hutchinson. And I mean, you could even argue that him and Thibodeau are the same quality of player. It's just that Thibodeau is so much more important as an edge rusher instead of just a safety. I mean, I could also. All right, let me just say, before we go into the world of linebacker, I love Devin Lloyd. I do think that Brain. I have that what's his name? The Georgia linebacker. What's the Georgia linebacker's name? Nakobe Dean. I do think Nakobe Dean would fit the Giants more. Nakobe Dean would be a better version of Blake Martinez as a run stopping linebacker that's okay in coverage, where Devin Lloyd is a great coverage linebacker that's okay at run stopping. I mean, this wouldn't even be an issue if they had just taken Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah last year, which is what I said to do. Oh my god, it's just such a nightmare. It's such a terrible team and a terrible situation. I'm taking Kyle Hamilton. It
Okay.
helps with financial problems. He's the best defensive player left. It helps with cap stuff. You know, you can go from there. You can't take a quarterback at this point. I don't know of a single offensive position you can take. Like you have way too much money devoted into corner. You can't take a corner here. You can't take someone like Andrew Booth. It's a nightmare. It really is. This team is so bad, has no way of getting better outside of these two draft picks, and we don't even know who's going to be in charge of them. If Dave Gettleman is still around, I might just have to find a new team. It's really that bad. I went into this season saying I'm not optimistic because I don't know how they can improve this much, even with how much money they spent. And I hate that I'm proven right every year. And with that, I have worn out my voice a bit. So, Sam, why don't you take pick 7?
Yeah, sure. So, the Jets are, again, as you said, kind of a charity case right now. They need a lot of various positions to be filled, but I do think Zach Wilson has decent potential. I think, there's a lot that needs to be worked on, but they have a lot of decent players on their team. You know, they have far better players than their record would show. And, there's a lot that they need to work on as well, just cohesively. But I think what's going to be really important to them would be just, protecting Zach Wilson. He was already injured earlier this season, and, he's had, like, I don't remember the number, but a metric shit ton of interceptions in the first half of the season.
Yeah, I
And
think he has 12 because I think Trevor Lawrence leads, and Trevor Lawrence has 14.
yeah, it's just, he's just not give it. Part of it, I think, is just, overzealousness from the quarterback, but I think a big part of it as well is just him being, not having enough time and being rushed and having to just get rid of it, and that never leads to anything good unless you are, Patrick Mahomes or something. And so I do think that the right call would be something to bolster that offensive line. And I don't follow the SEC a lot, but I had my eye on Charles Cross for a while,
Ooh,
and I do think that's who I'm going to go for is Charles Cross. He's
interesting.
he's strong. He's young. I'm older than him, but he's got a lot of strength to him. He's big. He's going to be able to really protect him, and he's a great blocker as well. So I think that's going to really help that team grow, especially and help Zach Wilson not get pummeled every day.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting how the way we've drafted the Jets are kind of doing something similar to the Giants with tackle or O lineman and secondary member.
Yeah,
Why do you like? I gotta ask, why do you like Cross more than any of the other available offensive linemen? Like, I mean, I thought all of that was leading up to Tyler Linderbaum. I really did. What
you know,
what,
I, w-
what
I
makes
was
you like
definitely
Cross?
I was definitely considering Linderbaum, and he's a fantastic player, and a big reason why Iowa had a great start of their season. But I think Cross has physically he has a lot more room to grow, uh, and a lot more ability to get there. Plus, he's a strong dude and was able to sort of stand out among uh, you know this really good offensive line that was at Mississippi State, and I think that because of that, he would be a great fit over Linderbaum. Just I think Linderbaum would if Cross wasn't there, I would have taken Linderbaum, but for what they are right now, I'd think that Cross would be like ever so slightly edging out Linderbaum.
I like it. I think that's a good pick. I mean, this whole conversation is different if Zach Wilson is gets a vote of no confidence next year, which I don't think he's going to get.
Hmm.
I mean, I think, in my opinion, quarterbacks should get 2 years. I mean, that's it. That's why I hated the Daniel Jones stuff last year. Most people think it's 3 years. I think it's 2 years. I think within 2 years, if you're not showing anything special, you don't have it. Zach Wilson has already shown something special. Um, I remember that game against the Titans that was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he made some crazy throws in the second half of that game and looked really comfortable and good in the second half of that game. So I'm still a Zach Wilson believer. I think I like this pick. I mean, I would have done Linderbaum. Maybe I'm overvaluing him. It's weird considering I just said I'm not taking a center top six, but here we are at the Panthers. That's something.
Yeah.
Um, damn. Panthers. I mean, they clearly need a quarterback. I think if it's we just saw Joe Brady took the fall for this season. I think if Rule is still trying to keep his job, it's Kenny Pickett. If Rule has a year and a half to work with instead of just just half a year, I think it's Corral. I think Corral has the much higher potential. Smart player, you know, good runner, good athlete, good arm. Um, has some issues viewing all the field. I mean, you look at Corral 2 years ago, and you see a turnover prone, dynamic quarterback, much like Malik Willis is this year. If you look at Matt Corral this year, you see a lot of things that say franchise quarterback, and that to me say quarterback one. And I see that tackle is their biggest need. The whole offensive line is a mess. There's no offensive lineman that's worth it right now.
Yeah.
Linderbaum, I think his biggest strength is that there's nothing that helps a young quarterback more than a good center. It's a take I've had for a while. And I I'm not sure if there's any other offensive lineman that's worth it here. And if they take Linderbaum here, they're not going to have a good young quarterback. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go Corral here.
Okay.
My number one quarterback. I don't think there's anyone else you can take. That defense is already real good. Um, and offensively, it's just offensive line and quarterback. And this is just the case study in average quarterback play turns a great team. This and the Broncos, average quarterback play turns a great team into just an okay team. Um, and that's the Panthers, that's the Broncos. Both have just average quarterback play, and it's not good enough to get them to a real high level.
Yeah.
And it's sad because the Panthers have built a really good team on defense. And because, if you think about it, Matt Rule might lose his job, and he hasn't been a good coach, but as far as a talent evaluator and developer, he's been pretty good.
Yeah. Rule has definitely been. He was recruited essentially straight from as being a college coach, and I think college coaches are oftentimes really great at molding these young players. Of course, there's some that can't make the transition properly. Urban is very clearly one of those coaches that just can't make the transition to the pros.
Yeah.
But
Urban is a
there's
disaster.
yeah, I think it's just not really he is much more his coaching style is much more suited to college, and I think that's the case for a lot of guys. And I think Rule is the opposite end of the spectrum. He's not a great coach necessarily, but he's great for helping players get molded and sort of grow. And there's a lot of young guys on that team,
Yeah.
and in the short amount of time he's been there, it seems like there's at least some impact there. And he made the right call of having Cam Newton start. And Cam Newton's not great, but he was a risky call bringing him back, and made the right decision by having him play for Nat while Sam Darnold is hurt.
I mean, Cam Newton is so terrible.
Oh yeah,
It's kind of funny and also kind of sad. Um, I I think the Panthers are in a really weird spot, if I'm being honest. There's it's just weird. It really is just weird, man. Because think about where the Panthers were last year. They needed
yeah,
help on the offensive line. They needed to figure some shit out um, as far as quarterback goes. And had no clue what they were doing there. And now here we are. It's the exact same situation. And I mean, what else are we supposed to look at here?
yeah. I definitely agree. I think Corral is the right call here as well. I do agree. Pickett, of course, was a Heisman finalist, but Corral, I think overall, higher ceiling, better. I think better field vision than Pickett. Pickett is a smart player, but I think Corral has a lot more going for him as well.
Yeah. And I mean, I gotta say, I do really think Pickett is an interesting player. Um I actually still have Sam Howell over him. Just because Pickett to me is Joe Burrow without the, I guess, processing power that makes Joe Burrow so good.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe that's disrespectful to him. I don't really think it is. Um, but I think Matt Corral can be a real difference maker as a, you know, multi-skill quarterback, as a dual threat. And I think Kenny Pickett doesn't really have that going for him, despite the fact that the fake slide was a hell of a move.
And completely, it's changing rules in college football now.
Yeah, which is always fun.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Am I? It's me. I'm doing odds, right? Because you're doing evens.
no, I'm doing odds.
You're doing odds. Oh yeah, I just took Corral. All right, there you go. Falcons.
Yeah,
I don't think this can be a quarterback spot, even though it should have been
yeah.
last year.
Matt Ryan sucks. There's no if and or buts about it. He's not good. He had a great MVP season, and otherwise, it's just nothing to write home about.
Yeah.
Um, man, it is tough to choose who would go here just because there's a lot of needs. I mean, you could say a receiver would be good, but Calvin Ridley is probably going to come back next season.
You gotta
Uh,
hope he does. I mean, like, take care of yourself, but
yeah,
this Falcons team cannot function without him.
yeah, there's not a lot going for either side of the ball. You have Pitts, he's great. He's a really talented guy. Just Matt Ryan just never throws to him, and
I know you
uh,
don't like that because of your fantasy team.
yeah, he never throws to him, and he
Speaking of
gets.
which, let me officially thank you for the fact that I am now in first place in our league
You're welcome.
exclusively because of you.
Don't mention it. Yeah, but you know, it's just that team is just they have a lot of work on, but I can't. I don't think I can see this going any other way than them just improving their defense at the very least, because there'll be some quarterbacks down the, later in the draft that probably be able to get. Maybe have them back up for a year, and then
Yeah.
once Ryan retires after next season or something, start. And so I think I'm gonna go with DeMarvin Leal just because I think that he
Mm.
is,
Him next
he's
to
not.
Grady Jarrett will be beautiful.
Yeah, that sort of 1-2 punch there would be great, and their defense actually isn't the worst thing in the world. It's not great, obviously, but it's certainly leaves something to be desired. But it's not necessarily looking poor. But I think adding a player like Leal, who's a monster, would really be able to bolster that defense and send them sort of to a higher level of, you know, but just a much better defensive line than they have had the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, they have. I was drinking water, so I was muted. They have some serious issues on defense.
Hmm.
What you can say is that AJ Terrell has been really good for them,
Yeah.
like a full-on breakout candidate. If they had most improved player in the NFL, it could probably be him. Um, he's good. He's real
Yep.
good. The issue is Leal, in my opinion, is better than Karloftis. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's, two different positions, obviously.
Yeah,
They're
but I mean,
so
in terms of,
same
I
genre.
mean, yeah.
It
Sorry,
I would put Leal just a hair over Karloftis, I think.
I think it's a pretty decent margin for me, just because I think Leal is the better pocket pusher and the better pass rusher, and then I think Leal is by far the better run defender.
Yeah.
Um, so I love this pick. I think him next to Grady Jarrett is going to be beautiful. I'm not sure when the Falcons can start being good. It's weird because they're kind of built to win now, but also built to rebuild, and they're trying to decide which one to do. And Matt Ryan, what do you do with him? Do you trade him? Who wants him? Is he the player that he is now for good? Is it just because he's on a losing team? All of that. I like the Leal pick. I really do. I don't think there's any other option you can really go for here. Maybe Kenyon Green. That's about it.
Yeah.
10. Here we go. Eagles. I hate making picks for NFC rivals. I especially hate when NFC rivals have 3 first-round picks, all of them in good positions, all of them while being, second in the division, or were for a while. I don't think they're taking a quarterback. Let me start there. Um, Jalen Hurts is a terrible passer of the football. Uh, when you ask him to do it at a high volume, but he's decent at low volume, and he brings a lot in the play action game as a runner. And I just don't think there's anyone that makes you want to move off him here. I really would have liked to take Layout here. I'm being honest. I was kind of staring that down because I think Fletcher Cox is going to be gone next year. Um, hmm. I mean, they have Darius Slay. I do think it has to be 2 defensive players. Obviously, they'd really want Kyle Hamilton. They're probably the top Kyle Hamilton destination. Um, how about? Yeah, I mean, I know I'm not taking Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis is a pure run stopper, and he may be a great run stopper there, but like I'm not taking a pure run stopper defensive tackle. It's what the Giants did at 17 2 years. I don't need to get back into that. Um, I think I'm going Andrew Booth Jr.
Mm.
You the Eagles can build their defense from the back. They have bad safety play. But with Darius Slay and Andrew Booth, they can lock down 1 and 2 receivers. Um, they can, I mean, their linebacker core has been so bad for so many years. Maybe this should have been Devin Lloyd. Um, maybe not. I mean, I'll let you decide that. But I think that 1-2 matchup of corners makes, makes third receivers beat you. And if the Eagles are generating pressure like they have, and they have those 2 corners, it becomes really hard for anyone to do anything. And on the offensive end, I'm not really sure what you add. Maybe it's a tackle. I mean, Andre Dillard just hasn't worked out, but at least you have Jordan Mailata, and you just go from there. The Eagles are such a weird team because I can't tell if they're bad and overachieving or good and underachieving.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to say that they're decent and draft for their biggest, but draft a really good player at their biggest need.
Yeah, I do agree with that pick. I think that uh, you know, that's defense, as you said, is just other than Hertz's inability to throw. It's it's their biggest need on that team, and to carry on with that trend. We've said his name a lot so far, and finally going to pick him. I'm going with Karloftis.
All right.
Just another spot on that team that's just in dire need of being filled, and there's a lot. I was sort of considering Linderbaum, but then I remember that they have Jason Kelsey on for
Yep.
their center, and he's not getting replaced anytime
He's
soon.
he's their legend. He's still okay, not bad enough that you have to replace him.
Yeah, I mean he's a decent, at the very least, decent center, and he gets the job done every single game, pretty much. And so yeah, but I think that Karloftis is, of the edges available. I was also considering David Ajabo, but I think that he's shown more than Ajabo has, and that he
Yeah.
has the ability to sort of perform in a consistent manner, whereas Ajabo sometimes shows up in big games, sometimes doesn't, sometimes doesn't even show up in a small game. So it's
Yeah.
sort of just balancing volume almost. So that's sort of what edged me over to Karloftis over Ojabo.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think Ojabo is better than Karloftis. I do think if I would have taken an edge, I would have taken Ojabo. I can't fault you for it. I would have gone in a different direction. I mean, I'm glad we can agree that it has to be defensive players.
Mm-hmm.
I like Karloftis. I can never have too many edge rushers. Got to keep telling myself that. I'd rather build a really good secondary with a couple of good edge rushers than have a lot of good edge rushers and try to get pressure there as fast as possible so that my suspect secondary doesn't fall apart. And I guess you're having it both ways here after the Booth pick. I would have probably taken Lloyd and just said, hey, we're going to put Lloyd on whoever the third receiver is that's probably going to end up being in the slot, or whoever the tight end is that they're going to. And then we'll cover everyone and our defense will get there eventually. But I can understand the Karloftis pick.
Yeah.
All right. Vikings at 12. I remember the one fan when I picked an edge rusher for the Vikings last year and said, oh, I know Danielle Hunter is coming back, but they need edge help. Got really mad at me. I remember that, a lot. And here the Vikings are, and no one knows if they're good. They I think of all of their games, I think all except for one have been one possession games. And they still have a losing record. I think, what do they have? 6 wins, 5 wins, 6 wins.
I think it's 6 now.
Either way, safety not happening. I don't think their defensive line is actually that big of an issue. I think, they have Dalvin Tomlinson. They put him next to Michael Pierce. Michael Pierce, right? Yeah, I think so. And they have Danielle Hunter on the edge. Linebacker, also not a huge issue. Anthony Barr. Then they have Harrison Smith at safety. So the big issue on that defense is corner. I don't see a single corner worth the 12th overall spot here. Here's what I'm going to do. Garrett Bradbury has not been good. Garrett Bradbury is coming on to a year where you have to extend him. I'm going to replace him. him. I'm taking Tyler Linderbaum here. It may sound like a luxury thing, but Linderbaum is so good. Genuinely the best center that has come out in the last however many years. And I don't know, even if you have to, I think the Vikings have given up next to no pressures as is. I think in order to get Dalvin Cook to last in order to get to actually, figure out how to pass the ball to Justin Jefferson, who is now second in the league in yards. Fantastic. It took them long enough to figure that out. I just think you build the offensive line more, and if there was a good corner here, if Andrew Booth was still here, I would take Andrew Booth.
Mhm.
If Kyle Hamilton was still here, I'd take Kyle Hamilton. I thought about Ojabo. I'm going Linderbaum.
I respect it. I think it's a tough call to make, but I think that is the right call. I was actually looking at him as well. If I had that pick, it's just it's a
Because
necessity
it's
to
not just a
swap it
talent
out.
thing, it's also a financial thing.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
All right, Sam, you got 13.
Yeah, the Saints are an interesting team because, on paper, like player wise, they're a great team. Production wise and execution wise, they're not. And we know Jameis towards ACL and is going to be out for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Taysom Hill, I have never been a fan. I think that I have zero clue why Sean Payton is so insistent on starting him.
You
Or
mean
like,
Kevin James?
well, yes, sure. Yeah, but he's just I don't get it. He's not great. Back last season, the season before, when they had him playing a couple snaps every now and then, or when they had Jameis on the bench, and when Breeze was out for a few weeks, they had Taysom Hill starting, which that was also just not the right call. And anyways, it's tempting to take a quarterback here. They definitely need a young quarterback that can come in and maybe start shifting stuff around. But also, Michael Thomas's future with the team is kind of up in the air right now. Of course, he's not going
Yeah.
to come back this season, but certainly seems like he's not necessarily pleased with the team. So, another wide receiver would be interesting here as well. But I do think that just you could have an incredible wide receiver, and you know, they have top 3 running back in the league on their team. Why they don't need
I'd
any.
lean closer to top 5, but continue.
Still, he is one of the inarguably one of the best running backs in the
Yeah,
league, and
for sure.
he's a dual threat at this point as well. He can catch and run, but I think it all starts from the quarterback, and I think I seriously think that the best call for them right now is to take Kenny Pickett, and uh,
Mm.
I think I'm pretty high in Kenny Pickett. I don't love him, but uh, I think he has a lot of potential, and I think I could see him seriously like turning things around there and having them be the second best team in their division. They're not going to be better than the Bucks next season, but I could see him coming in and really just turning it around. And even if Thomas doesn't come back, they still have a couple decent receivers on the team. There's going to be some decent receivers down the road as well that they could pick up and trade for a good receiver or something. They have Winston that they have as somewhat decent trade stock for a team that doesn't have a good quarterback, and they could definitely just bolster that offense around him and sort of shape it around him. But I think it would
Yeah.
be a great sort of goal for them to achieve of being one of the best teams in the conference and the second best team in their division.
What I will say is I actually ended up betting the over on Saints wins. The over under was set at 8.5. I bet the over on Saints wins. So I'm slowly losing my mind. Um because it's been such an up and down year. I think Jameis can be the future quarterback for this team. I think I would have taken a wide receiver here.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it's really funny how we're using the draft network. Um they have my wide receivers listed 3-2-1 instead of 1-2-3. I think Jamison Williams is the best wide receiver in this class. I think Garrett Wilson is 2. And then I think it's a drop off to Traylon Burks and Olave, but I think I have Olave over Traylon Burks.
Mhm.
Um, I understand the Kenny Pickett selection. I really do. I'm a Jameis guy, man. I really
Yeah.
want Jameis to succeed. I saw him do well this year. I think if you can get him, like, low money, I would take him there. I don't know, man. I just, yeah. All right. I get it. I do get it. I just, I'm not a big Kenny Pickett guy.
Mhm.
We'll come back to this next year and he'll be shattering, Justin Herbert and Mac Jones records. Um, and I'll look like an idiot, but so be it. I want players to be good. Yeah. I'm not a big Kenny Pickett guy. Sean Payton, him going to Sean Payton should help him a lot. I guess I'll just move on. I understand where you're coming from
Yeah.
positionally. I just don't love Kenny Pickett, the player.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, Raiders. I This team is not good. This team let the Giants beat them. Um, that's sad. That's real sad. This team also cut their 2 first-round picks from 2 years ago because Henry Ruggs killed someone while
Yep.
driving drunk on a motorcycle going 163 miles an hour. And because Damon Arnett threatened to shoot someone.
Yep.
So it's just like the Raiders of old. It's really on brand. Um, Jordan Davis is their kind of player. I'm not taking Jordan Davis here. I'm thinking about taking a wide receiver to replace them. I think Jamison Williams is the most comparable to Henry Ruggs, and I just it should be offensive line, shouldn't it? It should,
Yeah.
but realistically speaking, oh god. See, it really depends on whether Derek Carr is traded or not, and this could be the
Mhm.
year that happens. They might be headed for a full scale rebuild. Damn, damn. Um, damn. I don't know, man. It's hard to think of. Uh, they also still desperately need linebacker and edge. This is not a good team. I don't
Mhm.
know why tight end is a need considering they got Darren Waller.
Yeah. Right.
Um, they don't have. They're missing so much. And if I think that they still want to go with Derek Carr, it's Jamison Williams. Do I think they want to do that? Yes, I think they do. I think they still want to do that. I think they just moved to Vegas. They're not going to be okay with being bad. So Derek Carr is still going to be there. I don't know how they're going to find offensive line help. I don't think Kenyon Green is their type of player. Alex Leatherwood has been disastrously bad. Who would have thought for a first round pick that was probably should have been a second or third developmental piece? That Mike Mayock said, sure, because he's from a big school. Who would have thought? But here's another Alabama player that is actually worth the hype. Jamison Williams is super fast, but also is just, I mean, former Buckeye. He transferred out because he wasn't good enough to make the depth chart there, which is insane. Um, but Jamison Williams is a really, really good player.
Yep.
Um, Fast player, good route runner, sure-handed, great athlete. I mean, we just keep getting better and better receivers this year. It's amazing that the Giants don't have a single good one. Okay. Sam, why don't you take your division rivals and you're going to get both of your major division rivals. Are you going to get all of them? Oh my God, all of your division rivals are odds. You're going to get all of them and then you'll get to do the Browns. Um, Go for the Steelers. There's no quarterback available that's worth taking.
Yeah.
So they're
That's
kind of fucked.
So for the Steelers, I'm scrolling down to the 300th ranked player. No, I'm not. I mean, it's really tough to choose.
It's got to be Adam Anderson.
Yeah. Sorry, what do you say?
It's got to be Adam Anderson out of Georgia, right?
Right? But I mean, it's the reports are coming out that Roethlisberger is probably done after this year, which I think could have been said after any of the last 5 years. Um, but it's it's a tough call for what they need because I think outside of running back and wide receiver, they need a decent amount.
And like
And
outside linebacker
yeah, outside
and defensive
linebacker,
tackle.
yeah, defensive tackle, and of course they have TJ Watt there, who's an animal, and he's gonna continue to be the face of that defense.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough to choose, honestly. I think honestly, I'm gonna go with Kenyon Green.
Ooh.
I think
Adding to the offensive line.
he's a great player, and they're missing a good center, and there's a lot that needs to be improved. But if they do start Rudolph next season, which for their sake I hope they don't, uh, or if they trade for a quarterback, you gotta have a guy that's able to protect the quarterback in a way that Ben hasn't necessarily been protected, and do what you can to ensure that your player is going to be as safe as possible. And
I gotta
I,
say, it makes me a little sad that Kenny Pickett isn't going to be the next quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because going from pit to pit,
yeah,
you
that I mean
know,
that would be realistically I think that may honestly be what happens, but for these purposes for right now, I do think that for the way that the current draft is setting up, our draft is setting up, I think that Kenny and Green is the best choice for them. They just need to improve that offensive line, help Najee Harris continue to have just an incredible career. He's already had an incredible rookie year, but I think he's gonna continue to grow from here and start, continue to stun the world. And most importantly, got to protect their quarterback speed. They have at minimum two two good receivers, three decent receivers, and you know, there's no good quarterback, as you said, to pick
and a
next
good tight
years.
end and a good running back.
Yeah, they have. I mean, every weapon that a quarterback would need or want, they
Yeah.
have. And as you said, no quarterback is good enough to be picked at this point. So, I'll take the next best thing with Kenyon Green.
Yeah. I like it. I mean, yeah, I like it. I'm gonna move on because you know we've been going for over an hour.
Yeah, we can speed it up a little bit.
Yeah, let's speed it up a bit. I'm going Ojabo for the Broncos,
Yep.
replacing Von Miller. They have that undrafted guy that's been making some noise, but they had their rotation of Von Miller, um, Bradley Chubb, and then Shaq Barrett that
Mhm.
was so destructively good. Um, so I think adding the third guy rotationally, and Ojabo's big enough to cycle in and out of tackle on like smaller packages. I mean, linebacker, they could be the team that takes Devin Lloyd. This is the range, or a little earlier is where I'd see Devin Lloyd going. But and I mean, there's so many teams that need offensive line so badly, and I just can't see any of them going offensive line because there's just not offensive linemen worth these picks.
Yeah.
All right, Sam, take the Bengals, the Bungles.
Yeah. I mean, Bengals are also they're an interesting team. Their offense is, it's pretty damn good for what it is. Burrow
Yeah,
is doing great for a second year coming back off of an injury, especially. And Jamar Chase, Jesus, the dude's an animal.
yeah,
But I think I'm going with Jordan Davis here. I think it's their defense is their weakest part of their team by a large margin. And I
Yeah.
think that's Jordan Davis, a player like him, is really going to help. He's a big dude, a strong dude, and he's the first team All USA on defense, which is a hell of an accomplishment as well. I think he would really help shape that defense into being a defensive force in the AFC.
Yeah. I mean, I also think it's good because Trey Hendrickson, I didn't believe in the investment. He was good this year. He's injured right now, but you add Jordan Davis to that, you keep Hendrickson clean, you get some pocket pressure,
Mhm.
and there's no offensive lineman worth this pick.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. You got Browns.
I do have Browns, and it's going to be a double whammy for teams that I like because Baker needs more weapons, and I'm going with Garrett Wilson. I think that he's my WR1, but um, I think that there's of course there's a lot to be said between him and Williams. I think they go back and forth week by week, but I think Wilson has the hands for it and the vision for it, and he's fast as hell.
Yeah.
So my I'm going with Wilson for them. I Landry he leaves something to be desired. He's for what he is, he's not bad, but they need more. And Baker just needs more targets. Baker is a great passer. He's really improved his passing ability a few years, and I think that Garrett Wilson will really exemplify that as well.
So you don't think Baker is any part of the problem?
I do think he is some part of the problem. I think his ego has been a big part of it. That's also been put in check a lot, and I think it's kind of equal parts the Browns problem and the Baker problem and Odell problem. I don't think either side really put all in when they could have.
Yeah,
I don't think Odell wanted to be there, and frankly, I don't think Baker really wanted Odell to be there. So
that's fair. Um, Garrett Wilson, Ohio State to Ohio team. That's cool.
hey, there's a lot of Ohio State players on the Browns already.
Yeah,
Ward.
there really are, aren't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No teams draft Ohio State players more than the Browns and Bengals.
Well, that's fun at the very least.
Yeah.
You got Washington still,
Oh,
and
I
they have
do.
the same issue that the Steelers did.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Let's see. I mean, Heineke's not bad, but fuck, he's not good.
Heineke's fine. Heineke, to be fair, is better than anything the Steelers are going to have next
Oh,
year,
yeah, definitely. I would take Heineke over Rudolph any day of the week.
or Haskins too.
Yeah. As we saw last season, Heineke over Haskins
Yeah.
easily. Um, it, it's tough. There's a lot of need for a lot of things on that team. Defense, I think, is the one thing that they are surprisingly decent at. Of course, Chase Young is injured, but
Chase Young also wasn't having a good year before he got injured.
yeah, he wasn't, but I think he's still, he's a monster.
Yeah.
He's inhuman and will always be able to shine no matter what. He'll at least be good. He won't be great necessarily every season, but he'll at least be good. But I think, man, I'm gonna go with Jaquan Brisker. I think.
Ooh.
I think he's, not the best safety in the class, obviously, but he is still a decent pick and would really help that secondary and make them a legitimate threat in that, especially in the division. But in the conference as a whole, I think that having a defense that will be able to, threaten offenses both up close and far away is going to really be a game changer for them and help them keep these teams from running up points on them.
He's not even my safety too.
Interesting.
I guess I really just have not liked a lot of Penn State players
Yeah.
over the past couple years. I mean, I thought Micah Parsons was a great player. I just hated the human being that was that player.
Right.
I am kind of still there. Um, I mean, I thought he was going to be a fantastic player, and he's more than a fantastic player. But I don't know. I mean, I see safety as an issue for Washington, especially considering the fact that they've moved Landon Collins to be some sort of in the box linebacker,
Hmm.
a downhill linebacker, and he's not even good at that. Um, I don't know. I I don't know what I would have done with this pick. The Curtis Samuel signing isn't really paying off because Curtis Samuel hasn't been on the field much.
Yeah.
So I probably would have gone Olave, um, and just gone from there. I mean, they took Jamin Davis last year. They're not taking another linebacker,
Yeah.
and I like Ahmad Gardner a lot more than Roger McCreary. Maybe I would have taken him. I don't know. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah. If they
Yeah.
took Olave, that would be three Ohio State wide receivers on that team, which is a lot of Ohio State wide
Oh,
receivers.
one of the Sims went to Ohio, right?
Well, because Curtis Samuel's an Ohio State player,
Oh, is he really?
and yeah,
Terry
and
McLaurin, I
obviously
knew.
Terry.
But
So that if they drafted Olave, that would be three of them.
yeah, I mean, can't go wrong. Can I get your take? Who's just very quickly, who's wide receiver you? Ohio State or Alabama?
Um, it changes every year. Currently, I think it's Ohio State. For players that are currently in college, it's Ohio State. For players that are currently in the NFL, it's it's Alabama.
All right. Well, at least you're honest. I appreciate that. Um, look, I mean, the Bills, if they had a later pick, I would actually take Kenneth Gainwell here. They they just don't have an ability to run the ball, and you can really see it like tearing away at Josh Allen.
Yeah,
Um, I think, damn, N'Kobe Dean or Devin Lloyd. Who do I take? Because I think they have good enough weapons at wide receiver that they don't need Olave. I also think Olave and Diggs overlap in a way that probably isn't great.
yeah.
I'm going Devin Lloyd. No, they have issues run stopping. I'm going to Kobe Dean. I think Matt Milano is already their coverage linebacker. Um, run
Hmm.
stopping linebacker, decent in coverage, really good player, really high energy, high effort player. Um, there's no offensive lineman here. I don't think Trevor Penning, you take him here. I don't. And he's, the best O lineman left. Why is Nick Petit why is he up here? He's not as good. What the hell? It's a really top heavy offensive line class, I gotta say.
Hmm.
And at that point, you add to linebacker. You get a run stop helping player, and you go from there. Build the defense, help the offense in the second, third, fourth round, whatever. Just add impact players in the first round, no matter what you can do. BPA, N'Kobe Dean, take the Eagles.
Yeah, the Eagles again. It's just they've already had two picks, but it's such an interesting position that they're in because there's so many options for them. Of course, website says that QB is at this point their second highest need. They're not going to take a QB at 20 or 21. That would just, even if they didn't start the QB, imagine how pissed off Hurts would be if they drafted a
Yeah.
quarterback in the first round. And
And you don't want to keep cycling through quarterbacks.
yeah, yeah, that's good for no one. That's the
Yeah.
only thing that's going to be good for is just tanking.
Yeah.
And man, I think that it's still just we already drafted two defensive players. I think gotta go defense again. Of course, high. Make the argument there's no running back good enough to be drafted in the first round. So, I think
I mean, Kenneth Gainwell is Kenneth Gainwell. Ooh. Is it Kenneth
Kenneth
Walker?
Walker, yeah,
Ooh, brain is the best running back here,
yeah,
and he's not the level of running back of the top three running backs taken last year. So there's no way you can take him at 21 overall.
yeah. It's a spot that's wide open on their team, but it's just not a position they can justify filling right at this point. I mean, hell, he might still be around available when their next pick in the second round comes around. But for right now, I think just defense, 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 and
You're going Devin Lloyd?
I think I am going to go Devin Lloyd.
I love that pick.
We've talked about him earlier today. He's just he's a beast. He's great,
Yeah.
and he would fit in really well with that sort of dynamic on that team, and really, I said for other players as well, just really help shape that defense and sort of transition them into being a potential defensive threat. They have not been for a long time.
Yeah. And you just get players all over the defense that are high energy, young, can grow together. It's a scary sight at that point. I
Definitely.
love that pick. All right. Dolphins. Friend of mine's a Dolphins fan. I don't think you take wide receiver here. I think they have stuff to work with at wide receiver, especially considering Will Fuller hasn't played, and that would ideally be the wide receiver too. Waddle has been really good. I appreciate having him on my fantasy team. Also, just outside of fantasy, is a really good player. And I mean, viewers can see me hovering over Trayvon Walker. He's got to be an edge presence. The defense has gotten better recently. Javon Holland, if it weren't for Micah Parsons, would be defensive rookie of the year. Um, they just don't have a good. I mean, Jalen Phillips is really good. You get Jalen Phillips across from Trayvon Walker. You have good pressure. They've built their defense from the back end, and there's nothing I can add to the offense right now that will help them as much as Trayvon Walker will.
Yeah, I definitely I agree with that. I think that's the right call, just at least position wise. And of course, Trayvon Walker is the best edge available right now as well. So I think overall that is just absolutely the right decision
Yeah.
to make for the team.
All right. You got Chargers 23.
Chargers are Herbert is
He's so good, man.
he's
Herbert is so good. I was so wrong about him pre-draft.
I don't think I can't imagine there'd be a single person outside of the state of Oregon that would have said that Herbert would be the best quarterback drafted last year. And he's just been unstoppable. He's been so good, and future MVP, I think. And he's gonna. I mean, start of the season, he was an MVP candidate, but dang, of course, that faltered a little bit and went away. But still, he is unreal, and he's gonna be able to continue to be good. So, and because of that, I think the offense doesn't need a whole lot right now. So there's of course a lot of options on defense for them, but I think it's a tough call. But I'm gonna just help that secondary, and I'm going to Ahmad Gardner.
So you agree Ahmad Gardner over Roger McCreary?
I do, yeah. I think that he's a great player. He has a great attitude as well, which is not something that a lot of teams look at. But I think it's still just it's something that is going to be really important for that team. It's a young team, and they need guys that are willing to come in and win and do what they can to win. And he's one of those guys that I think will be able to get right in there and help out that defense and really be. He has a great ability to keep an eye on where the ball is. It sounds basic, but it's something that a lot of cornerbacks struggle with. Is they just they focus on the receiver and don't pay
Yeah.
attention to what the quarterback is doing. But Ahmad Gunnar has shown he's able to, be aware of the entire situation on the field, and so I think he's a great pick for that.
I mean, they call him Juice for a reason.
Hmm.
He has such great energy, and he's just fun to watch.
Yep.
Like cornerback tape is sometimes difficult because you really just want to watch what the receiver is doing, how the quarterback is breaking stuff down. He's fun to watch because he takes risks, he has fun with it, and he wins not just because he's a better athlete, but because he's a better athlete and he knows what he's doing. When he
Yep.
takes those risks, they're all calculated risks. I love that pick. I love Ahmad Gardner, the player. I love how the Chargers have done this rebuild, despite the fact that I've been wrong every time they've done something. Except for Slater. I had Slater as my tackle one. I loved Slater. We talked about this. Lions could go developmental quarterback, or they could address the fact that their wide receiving core has Amon-Ra St. Brown and Adam Humphries and no one else. Well, and then they have TJ Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift, both really good players. That wide receiver core is empty.
Yeah.
Um, I said before it's Traylon Burks or Chris Olave for me. I just think Chris Olave and Amon-Ra St. Brown is too much to pass up on as far as offensive weapons go. Um, they need they do need corner. I mean, we took Thibodeau earlier. You took Thibodeau earlier. I get the argument for a developmental quarterback. I just think like I don't know how much Sam Howell is going to help you in
Yep.
comparison to Desmond Ritter or Malik Willis, who are going to be available. One of those three is going to make it to you in the second round. You have the first pick of the second round. One of those three is going to make it to you, and I don't think the difference between any of those three is so huge that you need to take them now over Chris Olave, who
Yep.
certainly is not going to be there.
Absolutely. I definitely think that's the right call, and I agree. I think Olave is number 3 in the class, and I think that's absolutely what they need to go for right there.
All right, Sam. Another division rival.
Yes, it is, and it's the Ravens and another team that offensively, I mean, pretty damn good. Of course, you have
I mean,
Mark.
so many. The story of this team this season is just injuries.
Yeah, and they've been real. Of course, they just had Lamar Jackson sprain his ankle, but it doesn't seem like
Yeah,
it's gonna be that big of a deal for them. Should be back in a like a couple weeks at most. And but they had J.K. Dobbins getting rolled out for the entire season during the preseason, and several other players that got rolled out. But I don't think it's just injuries that's gonna last for this season, but definitely should not be taken into account for next season. So I do think that a place that does need players outside of the injuries is just the defense. Obviously, just
yeah.
that's easily their biggest fault right now is letting teams score on them and just run right through them.
Yeah.
And this has been a defense heavy draft for us.
It really has been.
There aren't
I mean,
there aren't a huge
you
amount
keep
of
going.
defensive players that are necessarily worth being picked 25 overall. But I just think for what they need, I think Roger McCreary, of the guys available right now, I think he's a good pick for them. I don't, again, we just talked about it. I think he's worse than Gardner, but I do think he's the right pick for them for what they need for the people available. And just any way that they can improve that defense, they should do it.
16 of our 25 picks have been defense.
Jeez, yeah. But I mean, that's the big struggle this season for a lot of teams is the defense.
Yeah. I think Roger McCreary is an interesting ad considering, Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey are the CB ones and twos.
Yeah.
I've been impressed by Odafe Owe,
Hmm.
who they just took in the first round. Um, and the Ravens have always been really good at creating edge pressure just by creating edge pressure, like scheming edge pressure. Um, and there really is no other option. I mean, I loved Rashad Bateman. I had Rashad Bateman over Devontae Smith for fuck's sake. Um, I do think Traylon Burks is an interesting conversation here, but I understand why you want to go defense over wide receiver.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like it. Um, the Cowboys are a really weird team here. Uh, Literally no one they can pick lines up with their needs at all. I don't even know why edge is one of their needs. I think edge is somewhere that they're good. Um, I don't really know what their needs would be. I mean, I guess depth on the O line is always good considering Lyle Collins is always getting hurt and Connor McGovern is always getting most of their offensive line is always getting hurt. Do I go Trevor Penning, who's the better player but not the positional fit, or Darian Kennard? Oh, Darian. Tremendous asset in the run game. Let's go Darian Kennard. They got to get back to running the ball better. They got to get Dak convinced that he can run again. He just hasn't run all year, and that's hurting their offense a bit. But their defense is good. Tony Pollard is better than Zeke, but we knew this. And their core of pass catchers is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is, again, as you said, just that they really need to bolster that run game because they have Zeke came out of college as people are saying, oh, he's going to be one of the next great running backs of all time. That obviously wasn't true,
Yeah.
but Dak is a double threat quarterback, but he doesn't play. He really, after that injury, he hasn't run much, which might be partly just because of the injury. But I think that when the guy runs, he's tough to bring down as well. But he needs those gaps opened up for him. He needs,
Yep.
even if it's not a designed run, he just needs to be able to have the opportunity to if he can't pass to anyone.
Yep. Yeah, I think that is very true. Um, I mean, I made the pick. I explained my logic. You got KC.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas City has been such a bizarre team to watch this year because they started
Yeah.
off and everyone's like, oh, they finally figured out Mahomes, and then this past weekend they just annihilated the
That game against the Raiders was so
Raiders.
funny.
They just demolished them. Of course, it's not necessarily the biggest thing in the world to demolish the Raiders, but it looked like vintage Chiefs, or vintage as in
Yeah,
2 years ago Chiefs.
yeah.
And but I still think that just, man, Mahomes, it sounds redundant to keep saying it, but he needs weapons. And
Oh, do it. Do it.
I'm going Traylon Burks.
Yes.
Just it's, of course they have Hill, they have Kelsey. Kelsey gets more volume than a wide receiver does, but
And
he,
and don't forget Daryl Williams, the
yeah, Darrell
unspoken
Williams,
hero.
and Clyde has been off and on. He got 2 touchdowns this past week after coming off of injury, but overall it's been not great as a whole. But I think they just, the more good receivers that Mahomes can throw to, the better
And the
they're gonna
more
do.
good separators, like
Oh yeah,
Traylon Burks is awesome.
yeah. I mean, nobody ever talked about Arkansas and the SEC. It's always the big guys in the SEC that's always get talked about. But
Yeah,
Arkansas, they weren't great this year. But I mean, if anything involving that team was great, it was Traylon Burks.
true. Very true. I'm gonna take the Packers real quick. It's Trevor Penning. Um, we don't know if Aaron Rodgers is gonna be there, but whether it's Aaron Rodgers or Jordan Love, you need to protect him.
Yep.
And they have had so many injuries on the offensive line that I'm just taking the best offensive lineman available and leaving it at that. Yeah, protect your quarterback, folks. it's how you get them to stick around, and if they're young, it's how you get them to develop.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's just I if I had to place money on it, I would say Jordan Love was going to be the starting quarterback next season for the Packers, and I completely agree. Especially just the guy that hasn't played in many games, he's gonna need that protection because there's nothing more. There's nothing that a defensive lineman likes more than to sack a young quarterback.
Yep.
So they're definitely gonna try. Now let's see.
You
So we
got
have
Titans.
Titans. That's and it's weird that the Titans have the 29th overall pick.
It really is. That division is so garbage.
It's ridiculous. Man, honestly, for the Titans, I am going to go with Kair Elam.
Ooh.
I think that he's underrated in that position. Of course, we've already drafted like 30 cornerbacks, but
Yeah.
uh, he's with the guys available and what the Titans need, he really fits the bill. You know, he's a thin dude, but no, and he has the athleticism to fit that position and would really help, especially in that division when they're going to play against mediocre, not necessarily
Well,
mediocre, but not
yeah.
great quarterbacks. That's and receivers as well for a lot of the teams. He would shine there,
Yeah.
I think. And I think
I
he could be a steal overall in the draft.
I think that's such an interesting pick because Christian Fulton, who was their second round pick, I think 2 years ago,
Mhm.
has been really good as a CB1. They took Caleb Farley last year, and they're just waiting on him.
Yeah,
I'm intrigued, to say the least. I think it's probably the best choice right now because I don't know who else you could go. I mean, AJ Brown, Julio Jones, and then whoever you want as the third wide receiver. I don't think you need to take one in the first round. They don't need a safety. Kevin Byard is so underrated. Um, and there's no one else who's worth it here.
yeah.
You could say something similar about the Bucks right now. Like, who else is worth it here? Hmm. I hate having to do this. I mean, their cornerback core has been destroyed by injury, but I don't think Trent McDuffie is worth it here. Oh God, I think Drake Jackson. I think Drake Jackson is probably the most worth it defensive player here.
Uh,
Oh God, I hate this. Martin Emerson isn't worth it. Oh Jesus. Am I going Trent McDuffie? Trent McDuffie or Drake Jackson? I love that we have Drake London and Drake Jackson both out of USC.
yeah.
Um, I'm not going safety. They got Winfield and they got whatever else. That's fine. It has to be corner. It has to be corner at this point. With all the injuries they've faced, it has to be corner. And my next rated corner is Pritchett. No, we're going Darian Kendrick. Oh, am I doing that? Am I really doing that? We're going Darian Kendrick. We're
That's an
going
interesting pick.
we're going we're going Darian Kendrick. Uh as they say, zone or man guy. Um I don't know. A friend of mine at college's sister's name is Darian, so I've been referencing Darian Kendrick a ton recently. So maybe yeah, Darian Kendrick, man. Georgia's having a fantastic year, mostly because of their defense. Darian Kendrick is a big part of that.
Yep. Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
go from Georgia to Florida, help a championship contender. I think what are the Bucks' biggest needs? I mean, when you have a team this good, usually like what was it last year? Was it Joe Tryon that they took? Tryon Shaboinka or whatever it is? Um,
think so.
he's been good, and I think it's a very similar pick with Kendrick, where it's take a good, athletic, talented player at a position that's going to be a position of need and figure it out. And it had to be a corner. And I
Yeah,
don't like McDuffie a lot as a prospect. So
yeah, I definitely get that, and I think that's it's probably the right call there as well. Just their defense is great, but that's definitely a spot that could definitely use some growth on that team.
yeah. All right, you got your last pick of the night. You got the Patriots.
Patriots, man, this is an interesting position as well because again, speaking of talking about Herbert earlier, talking about quarterbacks I did not think would be as good as they are. Of course, he's Mac Jones is nowhere near close to Herbert, but
Yeah.
Mac Jones is still outperforming my expectations greatly, which just sort of shows how low my expectations were. But Patriots are doing phenomenally this season.
Oh yeah.
All
Number
things
one seed in
considered,
the AFC right now.
yeah, it's ridiculous. But a young quarterback can always use more weapons. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of options here, and it's the same issue you've had the last few picks. Is just who's worth it. You know, there's a lot of guys that aren't. Like
Yeah.
Dotson is good, but I don't necessarily think he's worth taking in the first round. Personally,
Yeah.
same goes for Drake London.
I think TDN's predictive board and player rankings are not awesome.
Yeah, it's just it's odd that they have him listed this way, but I definitely don't think that they either one is, especially Penn State has never put out a good receiver. Not never, but they
Yeah.
rarely ever do,
Yeah.
and they barely put out a
Which
good
which
running
shouldn't
back
affect
receiver.
which shouldn't affect analysis going forward. It's just it adds on to John John Dodson is just he's fine.
Yeah, he's
I
good.
think both of us, if he's really good next year, both of us would look back and be very surprised.
Yeah, definitely. But I think just for what they need, I am gonna be going with uh Daxon Hill. Actually,
Ooh, a
I'm gonna be
safety.
taking him just because that secondary could use some work. It's pretty good as is, but I think it's definitely. I was actually debating between him and McDuffie, but I do like him a little bit more. I think
Yeah,
he's shown that he can perform in better situation in bigger situations, bigger games than McDuffie can, and I think that he would be a pretty good fit in that secondary as a whole.
yeah. I mean, I was the number one Kyle Duggar fan, and seeing him go to the Patriots in round two and then now be a good player and a player that's generating turnovers at a pretty good rate
Yeah.
is really nice. He's still a box safety. I don't really know a ton about Daxton Hill. He looks like he's a free safety. Um projected role, flexible starting safety. All right. Um so that should help Duggar a lot. At this point, I'm not gonna hate any pick unless you take like a third round guy. Um Cardinals, you know what? Fuck it. We're taking McDuffie. We're calling it a day there. They get their cornerback across from Byron Murphy. There we go. Um, Sam, I want to thank you for coming on this journey. Uh, Lions come out with Thibodeau and Olave. Um, Jaguars get Evan Neal. Texans get Hutchinson. Jets get Stingley and Cross. Giants with Aquanu and Hamilton. Panthers with Corral. Falcons, Leo. The Eagles have to be the best draft of this team with Booth, Karloftis, and Lloyd getting
Yep.
three high level starters in the first round. It's a hell of a draft for them. Um, the rest of the draft is I'm scrolling through it now. I think the late first round we kind of went off the rails a bit. but especially with the fact that we have how many corners do we have going in the first? One, two, three, four, five, oh, six, seven. Wow, it felt like so much more. So many more, I should say. Um, let me very quickly count the defensive players in this that we took. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 of 32 on defense.
Jesus.
That is certainly more than half. Um,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
looking more
Sam,
like
you
one
got
of those
anything you want to
years.
shout out?
I mean, nothing of note. Just be happy, stay
Yeah,
positive,
good advice.
get
I want to
vaccinated.
shout out Sam's fantasy team. Took down the previous leader, previous first seed. So now I'm sitting comfy in the first seed, and I just got to win my matchup, and I get the first seed.
There you go. You're welcome.
I appreciate that. All right. Um, everyone else, subscribe, do whatever you want. Uh, yeah, live your life, be happy. Good words to end on.